Hi, this is Jamie with Grinkmeyer Leonard Financial, and I wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about the CARES Act and the way that the new provisions are going to impact the way you administer your 401k plan. But before I do that, I wanted to say from our entire team at Grinkmeyer Leonard, we are definitely thinking about you. We know this is an exceptionally difficult time to be managing your own well-being with that of your family and your team members, all while trying to run a business. So please know we're here. Use this as a resource. And like I said, today I'm just going to take a few minutes of your time. Do want to share my screen just to show you a presentation we briefly put together regarding the CARES Act and how it's going to impact you and your participants. So the first thing we want to look at is who qualifies under these new provisions. That is going to be anybody who's diagnosed with COVID-19, who has a spouse or dependent who is diagnosed, or who faces adverse financial circumstances from COVID-19. And that includes, but is not limited to, being quarantined, having reduced hours, or being able to work because of a lack of childcare. So it's a pretty broad definition. And the big difference here than typical previous hardship type distributions is that this is self-certification. So you can rely on your participants' word that they qualify. And again, that's a big departure from what you're used to. Another thing to keep in mind is that if your plan requires spousal consent for distributions, the CARE Act did not remove that. So that would still apply for these new COVID type distributions. And a lot of plans do not have this. If you think yours does, definitely let me know and we can talk about it. So what are those new withdrawals? The first one is like a hardship, except for it's not. It's called a COVID withdrawal. It allows a qualified person to take up to $100,000. That withdrawal is exempt from the 10% excise tax that you have to pay if you're under 59 and a half. There's also no mandatory 20% federal withholding. And then another tax feature is that it can be paid, the taxes can be paid, the normal income taxes, over a 3-year period. And the way we think this is going to work is that your participant will still be issued a 1099-R at the end of the year, but it will come with a yet to be written special notice that explains the 3-year period for taxation. And then it will be up to that individual to take advantage of that if they so choose. The amount withdrawn can also be paid back over a 3-year period and does not count against contribution limits. So what I mean here is if someone takes, let's say, a $30,000 loan and does want to pay that money back into the plan, in 2021, assuming that the limits don't increase, they could pay that $10,000 back and still contribute the full $19,500. One thing to note is that withdrawal provisions are a protected benefit. So if you do choose to add this COVID withdrawal to your plan, it will stay in your plan until the provision sunsets or goes away, which is anticipated to be at the end of this year. The other thing that's changed is this COVID loan provision. So standard loans still apply, which a standard loan is you can take out up to $50,000 or 50% of your vested balance. A COVID loan, on the other hand, for a qualified individual is up to $100,000 and 100% of a vested balance. The caveat here is that the maximum amortization schedule is still 5 years. So why that is important is if someone takes, let's say, a $75,000 loan at a 5.25% interest rate and only has 60 months to repay that, the minimum monthly payment is going to be around $1,400. So we definitely want to talk to your participants to make sure that the long-term harm doesn't outweigh the short-term benefit when it applies to these loans. The COVID loan does not add a loan to your plan. So what I mean here is that if you, let's say, only allow for one loan today, the COVID doesn't automatically make you allow for two. So if someone had, let's say, a $3,000 outstanding loan, they would have to pay that off in order to qualify for a new loan, unless you amend the plan to add an additional loan. In a similar manner, if you do not allow for loans today, you would have to amend the plan to allow for loans to accept these COVID provisions. Another feature is that loan payments that were due after March 27th for an existing loan and any of these new loan payments may be suspended through the end of the year. And I say may because if you have someone who has a loan and they still are able and willing to pay back that loan and are not a qualified person, then keep on sending those loan payments. It's just if they become qualified, they have the option to suspend. One thing to keep in mind with this is that interest will continue to accrue. So even though the loan is suspended, interest will still be accruing. And then once the loan payments are restarted, the amortization schedule will be amended and then payments will resume. This is currently only in effect for 6 months. So we right now it's set to expire at the end of September. And I didn't want to just mention loans are not protected. So you can add them for this short period of time. And then let's say at the end of the year, remove them. People who took a loan would keep on paying them back, but then no new loans would be able to be taken. Some other considerations is that required minimum distributions for 2020 have been suspended. We do have an extended time period to amend the plan. So even though the provisions can take place as soon as possible, the plan needs to be amended over the next several months. And then one thing to note still is that you are still required to make your employee contributions on a regular schedule. So for instance, if you typically pay payroll on Friday and then make the deposit on the following Wednesday, you need to do your best to continue with that service standard. We are asking for some relief because obviously times have changed and a lot of you are working from home, but just do note that employee contributions still need to be made on a regular schedule. And then for your employer contributions, those also still must be made. If you have a discretionary match in your plan, you do not need to amend the plan to stop that. That would just be more of a payroll function. However, if you have a stated match or a safe harbor match, you do have to amend the plan to stop. So again, if that applies to you, please contact me and we can discuss your options. So that's really all we wanted to go over today. Again, there are a lot of caveats and a lot of kind of nuances to these provisions that I would love to discuss with you one-on-one. And I really am looking forward to the day that we can be face-to-face together to talk about these things. But until then, we're here to support you. We thank you for your partnership, and please reach out at 205-970-9088 at any time for any kind of assistance you may need. And until we see each other again, I hope you are well and take care.